not be back in Houston unless a nationally significant event. That's, that's as much as we could get so far. And they said a nationally significant event might be the Super Bowl or maybe a false flag event. Who knows?
Yeah, and then there was a peculiar instance after they had left.
Yeah, that same day while we were at the
same
meeting.
Day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like literally as I'm getting out of the Metro board meeting, I'm getting text messages from people saying, "Did you see what just happened on the bus?" And on another Metro bus somewhere else in the city, a passenger pulled out a gun, grabbed one of the other passengers, held him at gunpoint, made everybody else leave, and the police ended up coming on and shooting that man and killing him on the bus the same day, that we're sitting there telling them there's no need for TSA. Another lie that Chief Victor Rodriguez said as well is, he said the purpose of the TSA being there was based on sexual assaults. And you go back to the press release, and obviously we know what the TSA is there for. They're there for counterterrorism exercise. The Bus Safe program was a counterterrorism national pilot program. He said, when they went back and gave us a whole presentation on why they chose to use the TSA, and we have those pictures as well, he said is based on sexual assaults that take place in these buses around town. 18, I think, last year, maybe 18 or 24. Whatever it was, a lot of people were there to point out, we have HPD, Vice Crimes Division, Sex Crimes Division.
Right,
we have resources for these already,
Of course you do.
We don't need to ask the TSA, the federal government, to come in there, and that's unfortunately the route that, like you said, so much of little kids.
What's the solution? That the TSA would show up during a sexual assault and help?
They'd probably continue the sexual assault by groping everybody
involved.
You're
not grabbing that crotch quite well enough. Let me,
And I mean, we make jokes about it, but that's the reality of the situation, is that the TSA, the people who are there hired for the TSA.
I only make jokes to hide my incredible seething anger at the entire situation.
This situation is something that does involve a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, and I'm happy to have been able to go up there and participate and to see so many people talking about constitutional rights, talking about how much it offended them that the country was going in this direction. And there was, plenty of people from the Houston Freethinkers, but other just individual citizens out there who were like, I can't let this happen. So my message to anybody listening is that if you see these things happening, we can put a stop to them. We can get involved by standing up, by going to these meetings. Like you said, it's just a Metro board meeting, but those 8 people right there are deciding what's going to happen for Houston. They're deciding whether or not we get the TSA there. And us going there, at least we put a halt to it for now.
It was as if you had lifted up a rock, and there were a bunch of cockroaches under there, and they just scatter. This is like scatter, because they had nothing. They said, no, that didn't happen. We didn't have a press release.
And those cockroaches are planning a lot of things.
Can we do this again? They tried to cancel the meeting.
Yeah.
So can we do this another time when all the doors are locked? Or they're not even good at this. They're getting all this money from the federal government, and it's pouring down from the federal government into all these programs within these large cities, and it's spreading across the United States. And they're handing the operation over to somebody like Sheila Jackson Lee, and she doesn't even know how to get away with this.
Yeah, Sheila Jackson Lee is not a friend of freedom or the people of the city of Houston. We've seen her numerous times stand up for the status quo. You can find articles on INFOWARS and on HoustonFreethinkers.com of her saying, if we were to remove the TSA, when David Simpson's bill last year in Texas was going to remove the TSA out of airports, if his bill had passed, the bill that we all know the federal government put a stop to, if that bill had passed, Bus Safe would be illegal. They would not be allowed to put TSA agents on bus transportation. And most likely that's why there was so much resistance, is because they were aware they were going to roll this program out. And Sheila Jackson Lee was there at that time to stand up and say, if we put an end to the TSA, we're going to see a new 9/11 attack. So, standing up for the TSA, standing up for the status quo, standing up for these crazy TSA cops running around wearing their badges, pretending to be authority figures, asking people questions and groping them, and most people submit.
Yeah, and it's great that you had a victory, and it was so literally just scared the pants off of these people, and TSA, they probably like that. But, it's a huge problem. The TSA agents are now being used to literally occupy America with an expansion of 9,000 plus checkpoints. 9,000 plus checkpoints to check me, to make sure I'm not a terrorist in America, the land of the free, home of the brave. And these are already operational last year, 9,000 plus checkpoints, already operational. 12 more TSA Viper teams, Visible Intermodal Prevention and Response, will be added to the 25 who are already present at transportation hubs throughout the country. And then they have checkpoints in Tennessee where they're just stopping people randomly on the highway.
Amtrak stations in Florida. I mean, they're spreading.
I mean, in your memory, where was the last place you saw all this going on? It sure sounds a lot like.
I think that most of us know, and there's still some people who say that it's an extreme term to compare our times to Nazi Germany, Nazi Germany, 1936. But I think it suits perfectly well when you put it the context of all the technology we have with drones and the arrests before NATO, TSA on highways, TSA on Amtrak stations and bus stations. I mean, these things are only going to continue if people don't push back against them. And like the little thing you can do, waking up early, going to one of these meetings and just saying what's coming from your heart, telling these people that you don't want to be groped, you don't want your children to grow up in this kind of world. And even that little bit of resistance can slow the machine down.
Yeah, from all walks of life, too, because I think people are starting to get the message, even if you didn't get it here at INFOWARS.com, that this is incredibly serious. If you have children or grandchildren, or even if you have grandparents, we're all going to have to live in this thing, as it increases over the next, it's going to be pretty soon, next 5 years. Things are, every time I come into work, the speed at which they're moving is increasing. We can't even keep up with all these news reports. And for folks out there that think that, 10 years ago, it may have been a conspiracy theory to think about these things, but all you got to do is go look at the news. Even the mainstream news covers it, although they spin it and say it's for our own good. But any closing thoughts regarding what you hope to see in the future in Houston as far as the TSA and keeping them out, or is there any indication that the mayor, Sheila Jackson Lee, that she's going to have another round of grope maneuvers?
Well, as far as final thoughts on this situation, the last thing we told the board members of the Metro is we were able to directly address Chief Victor Rodriguez and ask questions to him. He did the same thing, like you said, little kids casting off the blame in this direction or that direction. Nobody is responsible, the same way every bureaucracy works. We let them know if we hear of the TSA coming back or if there's any other meetings planned with the TSA, we want to be there. And as soon as we find out the TSA is coming back, we'll be right there at the next Metro board meeting. I mean, we're going to do everything we can. In Houston, our group is banned from both airports for going to the airports and passing out information about the TSA there. We've been detained by them, harassed, and followed all the way out to the airports where they've taken our license plates and things like that. So we're not welcome in the airports, but we still try to talk about the TSA and make people aware of it. And now they've given us a new target. We're not banned from the bus stations. So if they come back to our city, the Houston Freethinkers, We Are Change, and I know plenty of other activists and lawyers who are going to be ready to fight them. And we're in it for the long haul, because like you said, if 10 years ago you told people there's going to be drones flying over the skies, you're going to get groped and touched every time you want to fly or take a bus, all these different things, I don't know if anybody would have believed it. Maybe those who'd been paying attention, but somebody who was just in the mainstream, it seems unfathomable. Now you look around and it's
we're
it's real
completely
life.
Conditioned. It's just been unyielding conditioning, and it just seems completely normal. You talk to anybody about it, and they've got an opinion. You got no opinion on it. You've got no opinion on it. There's no opinion. Our founders fought for this country. We're the shining city on the hill. We're the only sanity on this planet. We're supposed to lead everyone out of this communist manifesto. Well, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you having me on.
Derek Brose, who is... let me ask you before we go, the story about the Korean veteran.
Oh yeah,
Korean War veteran.
There was one guy who chose to speak at the Metro board meeting. He came up there. He was maybe in his 40s or 50s. He basically said he had spoke with his father that morning and shown his father the videos of the TSA out there and saying, yeah, they're groping people at the airports and now the buses now. This gentleman came up there and said, you know, my father lived through World War II, he lived through the Depression, he lived through the Dust Bowl, he lived through the Korean War, and all these tumultuous, intense times. But when he saw the video of the TSA groping people and searching people on the buses, he said he's never been more scared for his life, for this country, than, you know, any other time in his life. And he asked this guy, just please go there and just say something. Just say something for me. Tell them that your elders, the people who fought for this country, are afraid of what's coming.
Yeah, it's amazing because, you know, he wouldn't put his life on the line in countries where that was happening, where that oppression was happening. And to all these years after that, to come back and see it happen in your own country, it's very surreal that it's happening in America. It really is. It really is. And we got to put a stop to it. And we thank Derek Bros and the Houston Free Thinkers, and of course, We Are Change Houston. And you can find his show on freedomizerradio.com and also locallivehouston.com. Thanks again for coming out.
I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks. That's going to do it for our show tonight, folks. Again, to support us, we are completely supported by our subscribers at PrisonPlanet.tv. You can get a 15-day free trial subscription and check out what we're doing. And we will see you again tomorrow, right here, same time. Thanks again, and freedom and liberty must be retained. Take care.